Mexico City, home to some 23 million people, is the vibrant and cosmopolitan capital of Mexico. But buried beneath this living metropolis lie the ruins of Tenochtitlan, the magnificent capital of the Aztec Empire. Today, Mexico City's great cathedral marks the site of Tenochtitlan's sacred precinct, the political, cultural, and religious heart of the ancient city. The precinct contained over 70 temples, shrines, and other sacred structures. It stood at the center of the island capital, its gleaming white towers seeming to rise up from the waters of Lake Texcoco. Here, in this holy place, monumental architecture served as the stage upon which Aztec high priests performed sacred rituals. They sang and danced to honor their gods. They burned incense, buried offerings, cleansed their bodies in ritual baths, and offered sacrifices. Aztec priests performed some of their most important ceremonies at the Templo Mayor, or Great Temple. The Templo Mayor dominated the precinct and marked the Axis Mundi, or spiritual center of the Aztec universe, where heaven, earth, and underworld intersected. Monumental twin staircases ascended to two shrines, one dedicated to Tlaloc, god of rain, and the other to Huitzilopochtli, god of war and the sun. According to Aztec mythology, Huitzilopochtli fought his sister, the moon goddess, on the sacred spot. In a battle for supremacy of the universe, he killed her and threw her dismembered body to the ground below. This cosmic battle symbolized the sun's victory over the forces of darkness and destructive chaos. At Huitzilopochtli's shrine, Aztec priests reenacted this ancient myth through elaborate rituals and sacrifices. Next to it stood the shrine dedicated to Tlaloc, the rain god or bringer of life. Here, Aztec priests performed rituals and sacrifices to ensure the coming of rains needed for bountiful harvests. The dual shrines of the Templo Mayor reflected a balancing of opposite forces: rainy and dry seasons, water and fire, darkness and light, life and death. To keep these powers in balance, the Aztec priests practiced many kinds of rituals, but human sacrifice was the supreme rite, vitally important to the continuation of human existence. The Aztecs viewed sacrifice as a repayment to the gods for human creation. They believed their offerings of human hearts and blood helped sustain the gods in their battles against the forces of chaos. The tradition of blood offerings was shared by many Mesoamerican societies, including the Maya, shown here, and indeed with many ancient cultures around the world. The sacred precinct's Zompantli, or skull rack, is often presented as proof of the Aztecs' alleged obsession with human sacrifice. But archaeological evidence suggests that far fewer sacrifices were performed in the sacred precinct than recorded by the early Spanish chroniclers, and that sacrifice was only one of many other ritual activities performed within the sacred precinct. One such activity was the playing of the Aztec ball game. From the top of the Templo Mayor, looking west, the Aztec priests could see the great ball court, where in this sacred sport of life and death, players reenacted the cosmic battle between the sun and forces of darkness. Between the ball court and the Templo Mayor stood the temple of Quetzalcoatl, or the feathered serpent, a creator god believed to have invented the arts and culture. A round structure, quite distinct from the other temples of the precinct, this shrine was dedicated to Quetzalcoatl in his guise as the wind god, who was thought to sweep the way for the rain god Tlaloc. Archaeologists theorize that Aztec priests may have used Quetzalcoatl's temple as a type of solar observatory, tracking the rising of the sun between the two shrines on top of the Templo Mayor. In addition to these temples, the sacred precinct contained other important structures, including schools for educating priests, baths for ritual cleansing, and halls to conduct the coronation and funerary rites of Aztec emperors. When the Spaniards arrived in Tenochtitlan in the year 1519, they were dazzled by the sacred precinct's monumental architecture, but also scandalized by what they regarded as the idolatry practiced there. After the conquest, the rich religious life of Tenochtitlan's sacred precinct came to an end. and the old Aztec spiritual practices were largely replaced by Christianity. The Spaniards demolished much of the sacred precinct. Stones from the once magnificent temples were reused to construct the Metropolitan Cathedral and much of colonial Mexico City. Today, the excavated ruins of Tenochtitlan are visible at the Templo Mayor Museum in downtown Mexico City. Here, archaeologists have uncovered the foundations of the Great Temple. But the vast majority of Tenochtitlan's sacred precinct remains buried, still waiting to be discovered, beneath the buildings, roadways, and subways of modern-day Mexico City.